Greetings everyone, welcome to Music as a Journey. I'm Peter Scove. Today I wanted to talk about 777. Yes, today is July 7th. It is also the Japanese imperial year of Reiwa 7. That means that the current emperor has been the emperor for 7 years now. So every time the emperor changes, they change the name of the imperial period, I guess. So before that we had the Heisei emperor, before that was the Showa emperor, and right now we are in the Reiwa emperor period. So yes, today is the 7th year, Reiwa 7, July 7th. So it's 777. Now, Japanese regard 7 as a lucky number, as do many people in the West. And today was full of various events. The news reported a man, for example, who turned 77 today. So that was 77777. And then there was an event held today where at 7 seconds after 7:07 a.m., 200 people commenced hiking up a mountain that is 777 meters high, and there were other such, events celebrating 7. As well, July 7th is known as Tanabata in Japan, and that comes from an ancient Chinese legend. There are various versions and names depending if you're reading it in Chinese or Korean or Japanese, so I'm just going to give you the basic rundown. So there is an old ancient legend story. The master of the heavens, the king of the heavens, had a daughter who was an excellent weaver, and she wove very fine clothes for her father every day. But she became sad because she realized if she spent every day weaving clothes, she would never have a chance to meet a man and get married. So her father took pity upon her and arranged for her to meet a cowherd. And the two of them met and fell in love immediately and got married and were very happy. But then, of course, with both of them being together all the time, the weaving didn't get done and the cows were straying all over the place. So the father of the heavens, seeing that something needed to be done, decided that his daughter should not spend time with her husband anymore and stick to her weaving, and he should stick to his cow herding. This, of course, upset her greatly, and her tears moved him to make a concession that once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month, she would be able to meet her husband at the heavenly river, which is Amanogawa, which is what we call the Milky Way in English. So once a year they were allowed to meet. Now, of course, by the lunar calendar year, that means that the date changes, and it's apparently in August this year. But the Japanese go by the Western calendar system and just go by July 7th. However, there is one small issue. The first time that they went to meet, there was no bridge to cross the river. She could not cross the river to see her husband, so some magpies flew up and made a bridge for her with their wings. However, they said they would be able to do this for her every year unless it was raining. So if it's raining on July 7th, the weaver cannot meet her husband, the cowherd. Okay. Oh, and I forget now, this is also two stars. Where did I leave my... Oh, I'm recording with it. So say, where did I leave my smartphone? I'm recording with it. Oh, I had a page open for Wikipedia there saying which 2 stars they are. I think it's Vega and Altair, maybe. I don't remember. Anyway, so yeah, July 7th is kind of an important day for that reason. And one thing that kids do in kindergartens, they will make some nice colorful paper art and they will write some wish, what they want to be when they grow up, or what they would like, whatever, and put a wish on a bough of bamboo. So there we go. Anyway, because today is the 7th Reiwa year, 7th year in Reiwa, and the 7th day of the 7th month, I thought I would do a celebration of 7s by looking at 7 albums that also deal with 7 in one way or the other. So first of all, of course, here we go with Iron Maiden's 7th album, 7th Son of a 7th Son. This one, what can I say about it? Bruce Dickinson apparently did not do much songwriting on the previous album, Somewhere in Time, and he was feeling a bit bummed out, like he was just becoming a singer. So for their 7th album, Steve Harris read a book called 7th Son, written by Orson Scott Card, a novel by Orson Scott Card, and it was about this guy who had these paranormal abilities like clairvoyancy and other things, and he thought, what a great idea for an album concept. And 7th Son, perfect. Our 7th album will be 7th Son, of a seventh son. And he introduced the idea to Bruce Dickinson, who was really thrilled about the idea and felt very pleased that he was excited and started contributing a lot of the songwriting for the album. All right, still actually a favorite among many Iron Maiden fans. Then we have Golden Earring's seventh album called Seven Tears, and there are exactly 7 songs on this. Now, there's not much more to say about it. The album was released not in July. It was released in August of 1971, made it to #1 on the Dutch charts. It was not released in the US. But anyway, 7 Tears for their 7th album with 7 tracks on it. This is the album that has She Flies on Strange Wings, which is my favorite Golden Earring song. Triumph's 7th album was called Thunder 7, and while the band had enjoyed success up until the release of this album, their success really got catapulted afterwards. In fact, they even did a Pepsi commercial singing an original song for Pepsi. This included the song Follow Your Heart as well as Spellbound, and the side 2 of the album is mostly a concept roughly around the idea of time. So yeah, Triumph. They had actually not even toured in their home country of Canada for a while, but after this album came out and they got a lot of attention anyway, they started touring in Canada again. So that is Triumph's 7th album, Thunder 7. Now here's an interesting one. This is the Australian 7th album by AC/DC, Back in Black. For those of us who did not live in Australia or New Zealand, it actually was the 6th album because our AC/DC debut was a compilation of the first 2 albums. But yes, this is actually the 7th album. And of course, what can you say about this album? This was AC/DC deciding to continue on after the untimely death of Bon Scott, bringing in Brian Johnson, who had previously performed, I'm getting all tongue-tied here, previously performed in a band called Geordie, I think is how you pronounce it. And I think it was like actually during one performance, Bon Scott was in the audience and Brian Johnson was suffering from appendicitis, which became unbearable for him by the end of the show. And he was lying on the stage screaming, and Bon Scott thought, wow, this guy's a great performer, and said, if I ever leave the band, get him in. So the story goes. Anyway, we know Back in Black turned out to be a huge success for the band, and I think I read it's the #2 best-selling rock album of all time, so well done, lads. Anything else to say about Back in Black? It was #1. It went to #1 in several countries. Yeah, and it actually was the 7th album on the Billboard ranking, year-end ranking, yearly ranking. Anyway, it reached #7 for albums by the end of the year. So that's kind of cool. All right. Next up, Deep Purple's 7th album, Who Do We Think We Are? Not nearly as fortuitous as AC/DC's Back in Black, because by the recording of this album here, relationship between Ian Gillan and Ritchie Blackmore was in shambles. They even arrived at the recording sessions separately and even at separate times. However, one interesting thing to note is that the single Woman from Tokyo was recorded in July of 1972 in Rome, and it was prepared in advance for the band going to Japan for their first time in August of 1972. The album was released in January of 1973. So, My Woman from Tokyo, recorded in July of 72 for Deep Purple's 7th album, which, by the way, has 7 tracks on it, as did all of the Mark II era albums during the 1970s. They all had 7 tracks on them. Next up, we go to Queen's 7th album, Jazz, which was released actually in 1978. However, there is a song on here by John Deacon, and it is called In Only 7 Days, which is a cute little song about being on holiday for 7 days, and he sees a lovely girl on the beach and falls in love, but he has only 7 days of holiday time. Ah, the heartache. Anyway, the 7th album by Queen with a song called In Only 7 Days on it. This, of course, is the album that includes Fat Bottom Girls and Don't Stop Me Now, as well as Mustafa, which was released as a single. Strange song that, but interesting. All right, and then our seventh album to consider in this list of 7 albums is the seventh album by Styx, Grand Illusion, which was released on July 7th of 1977. A&M Records specifically wanted to release the band's 7th album on the 7th day of the 7th month in the 77th year of the 1900s, I guess, for good luck. And in fact, the album reached the weekly chart position RPM in Canada of number 7. In the US, they released the album, for heaven's sake, in the US, the album reached number 6 on the weekly chart, and for the yearly chart, it reached number 7. This also was a lucky album for the band because it really brought them more to the forefront of one of the great American rock bands of the 1970s. Until then, they had certainly been struggling. A bit of success with Lady before, which was not didn't reach the charts as a single until like 2 years after it was originally recorded, and then they struggled to find that same success. But finally, this album here was a very great album for the band and still regarded as their best. All right, some other little snippets of news about July 7th. So 7 news items related to July 7th. On July 7th in 2007, Ozzy Osbourne got a star on the Birmingham Walk of Fame. On July 7th, 2006, Syd Barrett died. Bad news there. July 7th, 2003 saw the release of The Darkness's debut album, Permission to Land. I'm trying to be very careful how I pronounce things as I'm rather tongue-tied today, it seems. On July 7th, 1989, CDs were reported as outselling vinyl for the first time. Then on July 7th, 1980, that was the last Led Zeppelin concert with John Bonham. Of course, John Bonham died in September of that year, so that was their final show with John Bonham, July 7th, 1980, which was in West Berlin. July 7th, 1966, the Kinks reached number 1 with their song Sunday Afternoon, and it was their last number 1 in the UK singles charts. It was their last number 1, their third and last one. So that was July 7th, 1966, and on July 7th, 1963, the Rolling Stones made their television debut on a program called Thank Your Lucky Stars. So there we go with July 7th. Mostly good luck, some not so good luck stories in there, but yeah, let's hope that July 7th is a good lucky day for you. Thank you for watching, everyone. See you in another video soon. Bye.